Cents Per Mile, featuring Charles Gracie and Paul Gibson. With loads of recruiting and marketing experience and backed by the largest driver audience in the world, we deliver carriers the driver perspective, find solutions, and help make sense make sense.
Thank you for tuning in to Cents Per Mile. I'm your host, Charles Gracie.
And I'm your co-host, Paul Gibson. What are we talking about today, Charles?
Women. In
Yeah?
trucking.
Yeah, hey, I think that's the thing. It's definitely been a male-dominated space, and I think compared to a lot of other spaces, it's continued to be that way. And I mean, all the stuff going on, people like talk DEI and all that stuff, but like at the same time, I've seen it firsthand. Some dudes are jerks about it.
Well, yeah, and it's not 1980, folks. Like, we're in 2025. Get over yourselves.
Well, that, and I think it's something like a third of leaders of companies in the trucking space are women. So we've got some pretty interesting guests, and I'm interested to hear their perspective because, for once, it's not ours. So,
Amen to that.
other than that, we still have to do the things that we do every week. So if you could, we are on Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, etc. Anywhere you get your podcasts. So if you could, go like, subscribe, rate. It helps get us some momentum, pushes us out a little bit further, and we can do some cooler stuff, like some of the stuff we have coming up that we're not ready to talk about yet.
You can also go to centspermilepodcast.com. You can suggest a topic to be a guest or even to become a sponsor.
Sponsor? Who's our sponsor today, Charles?
MyCarrierPortal. Trusted by brokers, preferred by carriers. Descartes, MyCarrierPortal is the industry's #1 onboarding and fraud prevention platform. Less friction, more trust, faster onboarding. That's Descartes, MyCarrierPortal. Visit them at www.mycarrierportal.com.
Speaking of women in trucking, shout out to Danielle, one of my favorite people in the industry. All right, well, it's time for the news. This is going to get weird.
Welcome to the 2025 Trucking News and Media Draft.
It's an exciting night, Ron. Companies looking for face to build their brand up and around. Let's check in with Sarah. What's going on down there?
It's electric out here courtside as the first pick is about to be made. It really feels like this could change the game as we know it.
Time for the first pick.
For their first round pick, CDLLife selects Managing Director of Corporate Development, Charles Gracie.
Dun, 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 dun. Bam!
Yep. Well, that starts off our news. So it turns out that I'll let you do the honors, Charles. It's your story to tell.
I am the blue brand. I am now CDLLife.
Yep. We switched teams. So one thing out of that. So what's your position and what do you do?
I'm the managing director of corporate development. And yes, that's a mouthful, but I get an MD that comes before Charles and the Dr. Phil of trucking. So yeah, the doctor's in. MD
Phil. Wow. Yeah. I did know. I heard about your job when they announced it in your job description. It's pretty cool that you're still not my boss.
Yeah, that is pretty cool because you don't listen very well.
Yeah. So do you have to move to KC?
No.
Okay. All right.
No Kansas City for me. Go Titans.
So you're not gonna be working in the office?
No.
Fair enough.
I mean, I'm working in an office, just not in KC.
Yeah. I get it. You don't have a drive.
No, I have to commute to work. I go up a staircase and into my studio.
You don't even go up this. You don't even have to go up this. Anyway, I've been to your house. So why is this happening? And what does this mean? Why? That was my first question. Was why?
Well, I mean, in a nutshell, CDLLife is full of awesomeness, and the only way it can get better is if I was there. So voila. No, but in all seriousness, you guys, us guys, and girls, are awesome and the largest driver media source in trucking. And with my involvement in the media, with my involvement in recruiting, it made sense to put everything under one roof to better service our partners and bring a better benefit to everyone else in the industry.
Yep. And the best part is Charles's content will get better.
I'm not sure it works like that.
It does, because you'll have access to me and I'm better than you are. Cool.
Have you heard of Canva?
Yeah, I have.
It doesn't talk back as much.
I know. It's also not as good. All right, cool. And so are there any, I don't know what's, I've been kind of read in, I don't know what bigger plans you can talk about, or if that's just more stuff we're keeping to the vest.
Yeah, no. My number one task is to help bring everything that we've done at Hot Seat into the CDLLife umbrella. But outside of that, I'm over media. So anything to do with media, extending the reach of our partners or our network out to the drivers and building out that content. So super excited about things to come. Super excited about this move. And yeah.
Yeah, it should be good times, hopefully. No, it's going to be great. I'm super pumped, man. I'm super pumped to be playing on the same team. Under the same team, actually on the same team.
Yeah, I mean, you got Michael Jordan and you got Dennis Rodman.
I mean,
Jordan.
like Pippen.
Or you got Batman and Robin.
We could go Pippen because you're the height difference between me and you. You're kind of like Pippen. I'm kind of like Jordan. It's Rodman though. I guess I've done the hair. I do have the septum ring. It makes sense.
Or you got Papa Smurf and Sleepy Smurf.
Yeah, but also Jordan never did a movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme. So just saying. But all right, real quick into the actual news. So the FMCSA officially withdrew their speed limiter rule for heavy trucks. Duffy actually did it when he said he was going to do it. Color me impressed.
Administration's doing what they say? What?
Nope, Duffy did it. The secretary did. But so that's, one step forward, right? So let's track this. Okay. Also, 130 truckers and mechanics to be laid off in Arizona after failed Teamster negotiations with Kroger.
Kroger.
Yeah. So basically, Kroger didn't want to deal with it and found a different way to move their freight at a different cost, and they didn't have to give in to those drivers and their awful collective bargaining agreements.
But you know what? We've seen Kroger as a brand take steps in this direction. You had Denver, Colorado. Now you have this. I mean, these brands don't have to be beholden to unions.
Yeah, and you've seen it all across the board. You saw Yellow. They literally chose to
fold,
bankrupt instead of doing that. And it's just it's crazy to me. I get it strictly from a business perspective, but also I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's already hard enough. The things that they're asking for and what a lot of those unions are getting paid and the benefits they're getting are ones that if the market worked right, they should be getting anyway.
You're not wrong, but I think one of the disappointing outcomes when it comes to some of these union fiascos happening out there is the unions collect a good amount of money from its members. So if you're going to fight on a hill, I would think it would be in your best interest for the people that are paying you, essentially, that you pick the hill to fight on that you can win, not just fold completely, because now these people are just done.
Right, but at the same time, there's an element of that's also what you pay for. You pay for better.
To lose your job?
Well, why would you pay in if you're just going to get about the same that everybody else has?
I'm not saying, I'm just saying within reason.
Well, that's
people are just unioned out. What you get from a union nowadays is not what it used to be back in the day, and we're seeing it across the board. I think
what you used to get
kind of check themselves a little bit.
What you used to get from an employer back in the day isn't what you get from an employer now.
Neither's the work ethic you get from your employees nowadays.
That is actually statistically not true, but we are not going to get into how trickle-down economics didn't work.
Paul, you had to go there with the last jab.
Somehow the man who came up with trickle-down economics was a great plan, but tariffs, even though he was the one who opened it, we're not going to do it. Anyway, so that's one step forward, one step back. Let's check this third one. Over 2,000 violations uncovered by Arizona commercial vehicle enforcement troopers during week-long blitz. Let's scratch out blitz. Let's put in shakedown, and that would be 2 steps back. So,
and I don't consider this a step back. I think, listen, when you have these blitzes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's our opportunity as an industry, as a carrier, as a driver to be better. Granted, I think these should be enforced all the time, but for them to find this many violations in a blitz, these things were going to happen unless someone stopped them. They should be stopped. These are your wives, my wife, your wife, girlfriends, family members on the road. Don't you want these vehicles being safe?
Yeah. So when you look at the breakdown, so 633 contacts, 619 total inspections. I think it was 2,098 equipment violations, but only 100 drivers placed out of service, 150 vehicles placed out of service, 41 hazmat inspections, 19 CMV restraint citations,
Seatbelts.
And 114.
I mean,
citations.
if in 2025 you get a seatbelt violation, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You're absolutely, unequivocally an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's fair, but I also I'm just saying, we're looking for it.
Brother, listen, I love our company. I covered a story on air not that long ago where a driver got pulled over for watching YouTube while driving. I'm sorry, man. Some of these things, I drove, so I'm telling you, some of these things are ludicrous. There has to be.
I would agree, but that driver, he got in a wreck because he was doing it right. But he didn't just I'm talking about the
seatbelt violations, keeping your truck in service and suitable to be on the road.
That's fine.
Checking your truck, not sipping your coffee when you're supposed to be pre-trip. These are all part of being a professional driver.
Right, but I get that. I think that's part of my problem is who's paying the driver for these stops during these blitzes?
Oh, that's a whole different topic.
Well,
That's
I think
carriers,
it's
but the blitzes themselves are an enforcement tool to make the road safer, and I'm here for them. And if you can't be there for them, then you're against them. And hey, man, how do you feel about being safe on the road?
I don't know. I think there's a lot to unpack there. I think that there is a balance, and I think as a trucking industry, we don't do well with balance. But either way, you know who does? Tenstreet. And it is time to go behind the desk.
Do you want to grow your fleet but get buried by paperwork, slow hiring processes, and outdated systems, all while struggling to comply with changing safety regulations? Enter Tenstreet, the all-in-one platform that simplifies driver lifecycle management by bringing marketing, recruiting, onboarding, safety, and retention together in one place. Tenstreet coordinates and streamlines all your operations. Post to dozens of job boards at once. Speed time to hire with pre-population and AI to get more full applications faster. And manage the entire post-hire process, from cutting costs with online onboarding to integrating all safety data into one dashboard, to improving retention through thoughtful engagement. Whether you have one truck or 1,000, our expert team is here to help. Sleep soundly knowing you can pass an audit, attract needed drivers, and achieve your business goals. Join the thousands of carriers using Tenstreet. Sign up for a demo today.
Trusted by brokers and preferred by carriers, Descartes MyCarrierPortal is the industry's most reliable onboarding and fraud prevention platform. Carriers save time and win more freight, while brokers gain confidence through verified partners. Experience greater discoverability in your customer's carrier network with our easy-to-use system. Less friction, more trust, faster onboarding. That's Descartes MyCarrierPortal.
All right, so it's time to make sense. In this industry, there's a lot of people in it. There's a lot of people with a lot of different experiences. There's a lot of different jobs. We're all about getting things to communicate. Whether it's having brokers talk to carriers, carriers talk to drivers, drivers expressing their thoughts to everybody else. But at the same time, one thing is trucking has always been a male-dominated industry. It still is by far compared to most. And it's, if you look around and you look at the statistics, almost 1/3 of companies now are led by women. And we thought that it'd be interesting to take an episode and talk about what is the experience like being in transportation as a woman.
Paul, stop talking. Let our guests do the talking, man. They got plenty to say. We've talked enough. We're bringing in Jessica Dotson, Director of Business Development at Multi-Service Fuel Cards, and Pamala Polyak, owner of Polyak Trucking, Polyak Logistics, Polyak Consulting, Polyak's Royal Detailing, and Royal Factoring. and I probably missed some, but she'll let me know. Welcome to Cents Per Mile.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
To be here.
The main question of the day, women in trucking. It's one of those things that we shouldn't need to be talking about in 2025, but here we are. How does it feel to be a woman in trucking? We'll start with you, Pamela.
How does it feel? It feels like I belong and that the industry needs me. Ooh, how does that sound?
Industry needs a lot.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's honestly all I know. I grew up in this world, right? I grew up in I bought my dad out. So I've talked about it in various different platforms and ways and all that other stuff. This is just what I know. I will say in terms of taking over and employees and kind of gaining that respect, I started very early on doing interviews with calling out the fact that I didn't have my CDL. Because I think in my situation, it wasn't just so much that I was female, it was that I was the boss's daughter too. And so you needed to kind of earn the respect on different levels, but then flat out say, hey, I know I don't have my CDL. I know I haven't been on the road. I know I haven't been in your shoes, on your seat, however you want to phrase it, and owning it right off the bat so that they can never throw it back in your face later on. And that has worked miracles for me. Once I started doing that and finally had the fleet of all drivers that I had interviewed, that I've gone through the process with, and saying it didn't take long to have that respect and that open forum for it. So whether my boobs mattered in that situation or not, I'm really not sure. But beyond that, people are just surprised I'm not married. But if you saw my LinkedIn post today, it was all about my job resume as a wanting to be a future wife.
So naturally, having you on, I saw that come on, and I had to click on it and read it. I'm like, no, what am I going to put? And then I realized what it was, and I'm like, wow, okay, did not expect. I was like, all right. It was refreshing to see a different approach on LinkedIn.
Well, there's been a lot of talk, right, about women saying like, oh, this isn't a dating site, this isn't a dating site. Correct. LinkedIn's not a dating site, but I'd much rather know what your jobs are than know that you applied for
and that you have one
and didn't have a job. Might as well use the tool in front of me, right? I guess.
At least you know that's not a terrible plan. At least it's not like, so what do you do for work? Oh, you don't have a job?
Oh, it says
swipe left. Swipe left.
Yeah. Like,
you gotta use it, right? I mean, it's not
now
hiding away from it. That's my opinion.
I think that's fair.
Jessica, for you, you and I have had talks in the past, and one of the things that I've heard from multiple women in the industry is that the mistakes feel like they're more catastrophic because people want to amplify it if there's a woman behind the mistake over a guy. Is that your experience that you've seen here, or has it gotten any better?
Well, as Paul had alluded to, trucking is still very male dominated. And crazy thing about it is, if you look back in history, that wasn't by accident. It's a product of decades of tradition, culture, and unspoken expectations. While many of the men out here have built their careers with pride, women like myself have had a much different experience. I mean, that's still, including, being the only woman in the room, having to prove myself twice as hard, being extremely underestimated and overlooked, and simply unheard. We're constantly accused of being too emotional, while men are, prided with passion. So it is still out there. It is still very relevant in the space. Whenever I first got into trucking, it wasn't by chance, and it wasn't by accident, and it wasn't through family. It was very deliberate. When my husband decided to be a truck driver, and we were learning as we went, and he said he was going to stand up a trucking company, I worked in accounting, and so I felt I can just throw my accounting experience in there, and it was a much different ballgame than what I had signed up for. I had to learn a lot of things, and the only way I knew how to do that was immerse myself in the trucking industry. So I deliberately found jobs, careers, places in that space to learn and grow in it, and it has definitely been that uphill climb, because you are constantly, if I didn't have my husband to lean on, to understand, and to be immersed in the space, I don't know if I would have made it. because that allowed the connectivity and allowed the respect of, oh, she may know what she's talking about because she has a man telling her what's going on. So it's real. I've taken, positions in the women's space, on the board of the Women in Trucking Foundation as vice chair, also over on the women logistics side for BCS. And I was very unaware of how big the problem really was until I started listening to other women in the room and the challenges that they faced. So I do appreciate these kind of spaces to talk about that and to hear kind of what's going on, because it is, I was looking up some stats. Only 17% of the women in trucking members are men. Now, of course, women in trucking is a little intimidating for a man to sign up for, be involved in, but it takes those type of men to support women to show we've got your back.
I think that's important. And I mean, the one thing Paul and I kind of pride ourselves in is dismantling the boys club of yesteryear.
Didn't that just, was it you talking about that, or was it Dan Lindsay on his podcast with Rob talking about how we need to shake and how the industry has done a better job at shaking the good old boys club?
Yeah.
Just in that statement alone.
Just the good old, and it's the thing.
Club, right?
the good old boys club of yesteryear. Trucking has had it forever, and it doesn't embrace change very well. Whether you're a young person coming in the trucking and you're just not part of that handshake circle, or you're a woman in trucking, it is a very uninviting circle. And it's historically been here for ages. And now you're starting to see the facelift of logistics and trucking. And you're starting to see those people shake a little bit because what they've known their entire livelihood is crumbling. It doesn't work. There's tons of talented people out there, both young, women, all together. Neither one of those groups should be alienated because they have a passion and it doesn't look like yours.
Yeah, and every woman in this space has a different journey. There are those rare unicorns that have family in it. They grew up around it. They understand it. They are just groomed or calloused, I guess is a better word, to what the industry brings to the table. But women from different environments, from different backgrounds coming into the space, I can't even imagine how much harder it is for them.
It's got to be intimidating, though. I mean, both you ladies are powerhouses in this. Your voices are heard. You're on social media. You're not shy about sharing those pain points. Do you see that ruffle people's feathers when you challenge the status quo?
Oh, yeah. 100% challenged. And it's a complicated conversation because it brings two elements. In my position as Director of Business Development, I have to have good relationships with all people in the industry. And when you start to ruffle feathers and you start to speak up and bring awareness, that can cost you a business relationship, because a lot of people in this space want to avoid instead of address. And so it is a dangerous space, but it takes voices, it takes collaboration, it takes unity to kind of gradually keep on weeding this out of our industry.
Now, Pamela, your experience, you kind of grew up in the industry, moved in and kind of made your own little niche side of it as well, expanded on it. Have you seen any friction with any of that trajectory, or, because you came in a family and you kind of saw it from boots up, it was a little different experience?
Yeah, it was different. And I don't know if it's different because I grew up in it, or if it's just different because I choose, if I want a seat at the table, I'm going to sit at the table. I don't care if there's men or female in the room. If I'll get myself to the table, I'll figure it out, and I'll go with that. I don't know if my journey was harder or more difficult because I'm a woman. It just was what it was. I got through everything I needed to get through. Do I know that anybody else would be sitting here in the same position, in the same way, in the same P&L that I am? I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. So I guess I choose not to view it that way. I choose not to look at it as being difficult. But with that being said, I also started the consulting business because of how many times I heard, I want to start in this industry and I don't even know how. And I've heard it from men and women. So the consulting business that I started is geared towards helping people start in this industry. And what does it look like? What does negotiation look like? What does hiring look like, male or female? What does that leadership role look like? And so I see it as a general problem of, like, people who want to join the industry are having a hard time doing it. I don't see it as a male and female issue. And again, I guess that's my choice not to really see it that way. I took 4 of my drivers. I ended up being here on Sunday working, and I had a couple drivers that came in kind of around the same time. I was like, you want to go for dinner? All 5 of us went for dinner. I was the only female sitting at the table, and I didn't flinch. They say inappropriate stuff all the time. I don't take it personally, and I rarely ever sit on anything longer than just a comment and a laugh, and that's just who I am. And so I don't know if this is going to be a blunt statement, and I don't know if it's going to go good on radio, but I don't know if I belong in the girls' club either for that reason. And that's why I've struggled with that role and kind of having these conversations, because I really feel like I put my pants on the same as everybody else. And although my days are hard and long and exhausting and nothing was handed to me, and I could give you a million examples of how hard I've worked, I don't know with certainty that if my dad birthed a son and that was me, would my experience be different? My dad birthed a son? You knew what I meant when I said that, right?
Right.
My mom birthed a son? You knew what I meant.
I would ask you in that though, real quick, like, do you feel like because you've taken such a no nonsense, I'm here to do this and get stuff done approach, do you feel like you've gotten a lot of haters from that, like an abnormal amount?
I hope not.
Fair enough.
I hope not. I mean, I usually tell people, and I kind of stand on the fact that if there's somebody out there that doesn't like me, you have to ask them what they did to make me that way. I really try and be likable, but I also have the tough job of firing people or managing finances or, telling them the hard truth of, no, you need to sell that truck. Stop putting money in it. Stop. It's now costing you money. And when I have to make those hard decisions every day, you're right, I can be the devil in some people's story, but I don't stand on a stage or sit at a podcast hoping that people are demotivated by what I say. To me, I just grind out the day, and I really think it's just like anybody else.
Get it done.
I don't feel like I do anything different than what a male counterpart would do. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I know it's a big
Well, I
topic.
think it's
I know
important
there's
to
a lot of
get
people
both
that-
sides.
Yeah.
And you grew up in the industry. Jessica, you come from a different experience on it. And I think whether, it's 2 women in the room that had different experiences, or even Paul and I, we've had different experiences in the transportation space. I think it's perspective matters.
I agree with what's being said, and I 100% lean into what's being said as well. There's accountability on all levels. You cannot use your gender as a crutch. If you're doing everything you're supposed to do and you're running into roadblocks because of that, that's when you speak up. But there's also the other side of that. Work your ass off. Don't expect to be treated different. Don't expect to be given a break or a pass because of your gender either. I support that very much.
Well, and I commend that mentality, because that's not an easy mentality. There's a whole level of self-accountability, and that's not always the easiest thing to execute.
Yep.
So,
and that's what's hard about backing this space, backing any space. Whenever it's a group, it's making sure that the right messages are being sent, and the right people are sending those messages. Because it can't be that there's an expectation for something to be given to you because of the gender that you are.
well, ladies, we appreciate you sharing your different perspectives on cents per mile. And Paul, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but I think the one thing that we can both agree on is women are in trucking. They are here to stay, and you just need to realize we're in 2025 and get used to it.
And at the same time, if you are out there and there is a situation, you see something, say something. Because there are some people out there that do some pretty terrible things, and they've gotten away with a lot of shit. So don't be afraid to say something and ruffle some feathers if you see something that should probably be called out.
Well, I'm going to call out. It's the end of the show, so thank you for tuning in to Cents Per Mile. I'm your host, Charles Gracie.
And I'm your co-host, Paul Gibson. See you next time. Charles isn't my boss.